So I just sing the start. Watch this. Do 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 do.
Watch
Do, do, do,
this.
do, do, do.
No way! You think he doesn't want to win, Dan?
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills and today I'm joined by Sam Williams.
Hello. Just the two of us.
Just the two of us today, very intimate.
Bruce is studying.
Law exams. Seems to be the excuse every time he doesn't want to do anything.
Revising. I reckon he's done circa 14 years of straight... Every year he's revised now for nearly 14 years of his life, I reckon.
It seems like work avoidance, doesn't it?
Don't know. It's definitely stretching out academia as far as possible, isn't it? That's...
As always, you can get in touch with us on @CookieJarGolf on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And
all the platforms, and...
yesterday
what? Oh.
yesterday we fired up Musselburgh.
Yeah.
Muzzleborough.
To some nice comments and everything. That was a cool one. That was a really
a bit
cool
different
film.
from our usual style.
Yeah, you did a nice little job on the old graphics, didn't you, in the edit room? I was quite happy with that, with the trifecta of open courses. So
Some questionable images of some of those golfers. Not entirely convinced they're all real, but
yeah, and I mean, I'd probably question your
In the
own
Valley of the
copyright
Blind and all
infringement on the product, but yeah, no, I thought Musselburgh was really cool, and sticking some pictures up on Facebook over the last few days, kind of just the number of people. What I didn't realise with Musselburgh is how much crazy kind of fondness there is for the place from Americans. Definitely. Like I got the feeling in Scotland that it was hello, but I didn't expect the number of Americans that were like, oh yeah, like that's a pilgrimage.
it's a strange one because my fondness for it has increased with the duration that's passed. I feel like I look back at it and look back at the film now and think, yeah, that was really cool. We got to be in a place where that's where it all started. And I was very aware of it at the time, but it's certainly hitting me more now. Certainly the way that people are interacting with us and talking about how it's their dream to go play Musselburgh from, someone who plays Pebble Beach and their dream is to go play Musselburgh.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
And yeah, I mean, it's starting to hammer home that was a really special experience, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, it's cool. So we had that, and then obviously next Monday we're going into Gullen, whatever you'd like to call
shoulder.
it. The shoulder of Gullen Hill. So that'll be cool. But yeah, apart from that, it's been pretty non-eventful, hasn't it? So
Well, it's been a pretty tricky week, hasn't it? Let's be fair.
background of our listeners overseas, we are in a complete state of lockdown, so that essentially means everything with the exception of supermarkets and garden centres are shut. Why are you laughing for?
Well, that is true, but I don't know why garden centres is the...
Because I don't understand why garden centres remained open. I
Well,
don't understand how buying a bird bath can be categorised as essential retail in the current climate. I really can't. Do you know what? I drove past, and this will mean nothing again to our overseas listeners. I was out in the car the other day going to the supermarket for essential purchases, and I drove past a shop called Curry's, which, for those who don't know, is a large electrical retailer. There was a queue of about 30 people outside the door. I'm not convinced that many people were buying kind of temporary heaters for their home under emergency purposes. Nonetheless, golf courses are shut. I'm not the slightest bit bitter about that, but it has been.
But while we're talking about our overseas listeners, we do need to give a shout out to a few of our listeners that have actually backed Sam up. We've never gone publicly and done this.
Oh yeah.
With the Leaf Creepers.
Oh yeah. So for anyone watching the tour film part 1, the pod, I was
Listening.
Yeah, or listening rather to tour film part 1 podcast that we did before Christmas. I made a bit of a claim and said that in New York, people go out and do this thing called leaf creeping. We had an email coming through in the inbox. Yeah, a few emails come in that have sort of said, yeah, Sam's definitely not wide of the mark there, although it's not quite creeping. It's called leaf peeping. But he said, I think one person actually said leaf creeping is a slightly more accurate version of events.
And I think if you called a creep in America, it's a bit more derogatory than the way we would say it. So, no, fair play to you, Sam. You are only in this occasion talking 50% bullshit.
Complete sense, as always. But apart from being a pretty non-eventful week, I look at the week behind us now and think it's been a week of some pretty bad takes. There's been a few bad looks out there for a number of people.
Yeah, it's been, if you follow the Twitter sphere and the echo chambers that we all live in these days, it's been bad for a few people, and a few companies it's been bad for as well.
And for once, it's been nice to see the golf course of the week on the PGA Tour not get a complete slamming, because Kapalua is wide open. So the woke architects of the world are not slamming it for a lack of width and angles. So that's gone away, which has actually led to some pretty entertaining news out there.
I think the 18th at Kapalua has probably got more width and angles than St Andrews.
Absolutely ridiculous. Truly ridiculous. Like, you could take a run at some of those drives. I didn't see it enhancing the strategy. That thing was long. Can we just talk about the course for a second, considering we're on it?
Considering the winning score, I think, was 25 under, and then there was a bird in the playoff, so over 73 holes, it was 26 under. The course is 7,600 yards.
Do you know, I went through the scorecard.
Mutant.
I don't know why I did this. I was really bored. I was doing some work at my desk, and I had the scorecard on there from Formby Ladies. So I decided to add up the yardage for the first 6 holes at Formby Ladies, and I think it was equivalent to about 2.1 holes of the opening course at Kapalua.
It was silly long. But I think that does just go to show, though, that I suppose do you think it's really a thing? I don't think they can make golf courses long enough now. I just don't think it's a thing.
I don't really know where you go with it, do you? I mean, I think it didn't even look that hard, did it? I mean, it was, to use Jeff Shackelford's term, it was a bit of a pincushion, really. You saw the way the ball landed. It wasn't releasing. And they're playing at 18 at 634-ish.
Yeah,
I say ish at 634. It's pretty accurate.
It's driver iron as well.
Yeah, driver iron. So where'd you go from that? You're going to do 700-800? It's not a distance debate pod. We're not going to do that now. But it was.
No, but I actually think it's
it was
the
long,
opposite of that.
and it was dismantled. So anyone that says we need to make golf courses, 8,000 yards to provide a challenge, is just utter garbage.
I'm not saying that at all.
I'm
not saying it's a distance debate thing. I don't want to go into a distance debate. But I'm saying that actually it's more of an architecture debate. That if you put hazards in the right place and have interesting course architecture, then you're more likely. I mean, the wind didn't blow at all in Hawaii, which is part of the problem. If the wind doesn't blow, those boys, they're so good, they can just put it wherever they want. It's not a problem at all.
Yeah, exactly. But it was actually pretty cool. I watched a bit of it on replay afterwards. It was far too late at night to be staying up and watching the conclusion.
For the British market, it kicks off at like 10 o'clock.
It's the definition of inaccessible PGA golf, that one.
And we've got another week of it next week. But
where are we going to kick it off then? Harris English?
I think Harris English is a good place to start.
Okay.
So let's start with the title of the tournament.
Tournament of Champions, correct?
Correct.
So the previous year's winners gain exemption to that tournament in Hawaii.
But he must have had an exemption another way, because he didn't win in 2020 or
2013,
19 or 18.
7 years
2013
winless.
since his last solo victory. 7 years. So how did he get in?
I haven't got a clue how they've done this. I know they increased the field, but I mean, have they done it on form or
FedEx
rankings?
points. So because
got you.
there wasn't enough. How much money you make lets you earn more money the next year. Because there wasn't a full schedule of PGA events, they had the winners of 2020 like they would do usually, but they also extended invites to anyone who was in the top 30 of the FedEx, and Harris English was 12th, which is how he got his invite to the Tournament of Champions.
Lucky boy.
But they should have just called it the Tournament of Champions and
also
achievers.
and also people that have lined their pockets well last year with some pretty good kind of also ran performances. Harris English not also ran, but he's had a massive kind of boost to his career, hasn't he? Did I read somewhere he was 390th or something?
I think he lost his card in 2019. Nearly lost his card in 2019. It was
very close to being pretty much off and down into the next kind of tiering and everything, wasn't he? And off tour.
He's looking solid, really good.
Well, I thought
Flusher.
Neiman was going well. I don't know if he posted something like 9 under gross on the. I say 9 under gross, 9 under on the final round.
What did he score net?
I don't know what the net prize was. Shot 9 under on the final round, and that doesn't get it done. Some
comeback though.
Yeah. What question for you? Playing with Sergio. apparently they teed up the whole outfit situ together, so they wore identical outfits, the white trousers with the black shirt and all that sort of jazz. And apparently they play a lot of golf together.
Well, he was there at the end supporting with his family, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But there was a day that if you walked out onto the golf course and someone was in the same four balls wearing the same gear as you'd think, Christ, I need to go back and change. I need to go stick another jumper on. I can't be seeing the same thing.
Wasn't it? But yeah, that's got to have given him a little tickle along the way. Anyway, I thought it wasn't bad to watch, but I did think the week in general seemed to have just a few bad takes. There was a few that I
Let's start with the defending champ.
Okay.
Justin Thomas.
Ooh, okay. So, where do you want to go with this?
Well, I suppose you better tell the story for those that weren't in the know.
I think you've got the article in front of you.
I haven't got the article in front of me. Let's say that Justin Thomas has missed a putt in the third round that obviously caused him some dismay. And he referred to himself as a derogatory term that's only used by the
It's homophobic, wasn't it? I mean, let's cut to the chase. He used a homophobic slur, which,
about himself.
Yeah, I get that, but it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable language. And I think fair, he's come straight out and he's apologised for it. These guys know that the audio is pretty crisp out there when they're on the greens. There's hardly a lot of noise out there from, patrons or otherwise. I don't really know what to say other than the fact that it's just a complete, own goal on behalf of Justin Thomas there to kind of get caught doing that. And you shouldn't be using that language, but then to know when you're out on the course that you're getting recorded, you know that there's a pretty good chance that your audio is getting picked up. He'll have known as soon as he's holed out and thought. I suspect he didn't mean it in a derogatory way, but the problem is, it's interpreted that way.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, as soon as you say it in reference to something that's gone bad, then the underlying point is that he must think that is bad. I don't know how to phrase that.
I think,
But I've always taken the piss out of Jordan Spieth because he's like, gosh darn it, Jordan, and it's just so PC when he's angry at himself. But these guys are paid millions and millions of dollars. They have to be PC. They can't just be throwing out, you get the odd, for fuck's sake, and that's that happens. And
the commentator just sweeps it up for them, don't they? They just sort of go, sorry if you got a little bit of that there, and it's on to the next shot. But
you can't get away with being homophobic.
Yeah, that's just offensive, isn't it? It's just offensive language, and it's unacceptable. I've seen people saying, "Well, he still picked up 430k that week." What do you think, Tom? Should he have, repurposed his proceeds? Is he going to get fined? Is there a suspension in the offing? What do you think is going to happen?
It's not. If he turned around and gave away his money to the LGBTQ plus community, I think it'd be disingenuous. I think that's ridiculous. I think he should probably be fined. Just you shouldn't be behaving like this. You've got to be a role model to everybody else out there, and that's what these guys are getting paid for. But I think that needs to come down as a sanction. I think if he just suddenly donated it, it'd be a bit transparent, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think so.
I think it would look, and the thing is, people just twist it in whatever way. So they say that, and then you go and do that, and he'd just be someone would say, well, you're just trying to buy your way out of the problem. So I don't know. So that was the obvious first bad take of the week. I think you're completely unanimous in that one. That's a complete.
Yeah, and he said, he's come out and said since the conclusion of the tournament that has been playing on his mind, and it's really affected him and affected his play. When you shoot 24 under and miss the winning number by one, you can't affect him that much. But life's a learning curve. We all make mistakes. Just learn from it. He shouldn't have done it, but
yeah, I think it is. It's a steep learning curve though. There, that's not one to repeat twice, is it? I don't know. He generally seems like someone that people endear themselves to on tour. He seems like a nice guy.
He seems quality. When they did that, Tiger Phil, when he did the on-course commentary. Yeah,
exactly.
His commentary, I thought, was just it absolutely made. I I'm a huge Justin Thomas fan. Like his commentary made that sort of production. I thought he was brilliant. He's like chanting to Phil and he's getting in their ear and stuff. I think well, I don't know the guy. I think he's a great guy. He comes across as a great guy, but he obviously just made a mistake.
Well, there was another bit of audio pickup that I caught on the second round, which Rahm, I don't know if you saw it. I caught it. I didn't see any chatter about it, but I was thinking in the back of my mind, Rahm, right? Okay, brand new signing for Callaway. Obviously, left relationship with TaylorMade. You know, it's all over the news. That must be a whopping check Callaway have paid
Callaway,
him.
the biggest hitters, longest, fastest face.
Yeah, they've pushed drivers further than humanly possible, which I think is absolute gubbins. So I think he's on the 17th tee. Kind of, I mean, again, wide open, Kapalua, 100 yards wide, tries to take an aggressive line up the left, turns it over. It's kind of like a little bit of one of those sort of toey sort of duck hooks that you hit. It's clearly gone in out of bounds or into the penalty area or something. But he's hit it straight away, lost temper and gone, there's no way I hit the ball that bad. I don't know how the ball's flown out. There's no way I've hit it that bad. Looking down at his equipment, and I thought, right, that is the worst PR Callaway have ever paid for in one foul swoop.
I mean, it's tough. It's a tough one for Callaway, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's his own man, and he'll be like walking in and be like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you know, I'm paid to use this equipment. I'm reacting to a shot I've hit on course. At the same rate, if you were the guy who brokered the deal there with John Rahm, you couldn't help but sit there and think,
could have kept your mouth shut on that one.
Yeah, I mean, so that was bad take number 2 for me. I mean, that was just a kind of minor spot.
Let's not move on though. I mean, I feel like I've got to produce a counter argument to this, that I don't think Callaway are responsible for the top master shot. That topped fairway 3-wood.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, that was a bad strike. Like, let's go on.
He's got previous.
Yeah, I mean, that's a clean top. That's a bad strike.
So it can't, he has got those strikes in the locker, but to look down at your club that's brand new and you've just been paid millions of dollars to use and go, there's no way I've swung that bad. This club is just not where
Poor
it should
form.
be. But you'll get into it. He will, be fit more and he'll get used to it.
Bad take number 3 of the week for me. Poulter. Hanging off the back of a yacht. Literally hanging off the back of a super yacht.
So I'm going to set the scene, right? I'll get Sam to finish this, but there is obviously this meme going around. It's been going around for ages now about the Fleetwood Mac dreams. And Fleetwood's been out the top of a 4x4 sticking his head out of a sunroof while that song's on. And that meme's going around everywhere. And when you're driving around with your head out of a 4x4, obviously on the grounds of a golf course, you think, okay, you can kind of get away with that.
It felt a little tasteless. I mean, it just felt a little, if Bruce was here, he would say insipid, essentially weak, tasteless.
He was hanging off the back of a yacht in Greece.
Yes,
or
I don't know
like
where
that.
it was. Obviously Fleetwood Mac player,
Having the
sunglasses
best time
on,
of his
just
life.
looked like he was having an absolute ball. And I just saw a tirade of abuse coming back at Poulter. Then just take us down here, and yeah, probably not the best time. A lot of people having a tough time at the moment. A lot of people can't leave their houses at the moment, Ian. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of rubbing our face in it.
There's some news going around in the Daily Mail that we only be allowed to exercise once a week.
I just think it's a really bad look. I always think with, particularly Poulter, whenever you see his house, there's always that huge kind of like glass-fronted building with like sort of 60 Ferraris parked outside the front. And I just never think that's a particularly good look either.
Yeah, but he's earned it.
Yeah, I get
He
that.
can spend it on whatever he wants. I think that the tough
It's a bit
about
tasteless, though, isn't
yeah,
it?
it is a bit tasteless. It's a bit disconnected, I think. I mean,
I think so.
When, there is this pandemic going on and we are in the midst of probably the hardest part of it we're ever going to face of this particular pandemic, and people are being told not to leave their house or, don't go to work, and, you're getting minimal furlough money and yeah, here I am, boys. I'm on my
It's just
yacht.
outrageous. It's just utterly outrageous. So, I mean, I'd have just, and there's other people on the boat, I'd have just been interested to know what was going through his mind when you hit the push button on that, when you sort of hit publish or whatever. or
This is
share.
a far cry from your over analysis of your social media. Whereas, do you think this is too much?
Do you
to
not have
take it
that
down?
though? Whenever you hit
The
the
fear.
send, yeah, you always have the fear on whatever you post. So you always hover over it for about. For me, it's like half an hour. Like it's an excruciating process, and you sit there and look at it, and you think something must have been going through his head where he's thinking, "Do I look like a bit of a dick here? Does
No,
this
no,
look
no,
like
I don't
I'm-"
think he's got that filter.
No, I
think
suppose
that's
not.
the difference.
I think that must be it. I think
that bit where we would think that. I think he's thinking, I look like a baller here. But the PGA have dropped their own clangers this week with their announcement of the biggest events.
Oh yeah. So this is right. So this is is it like the little diagram of the
biggest
the
events,
sort of slot
in
machine or whatever,
2021.
which is basically where they've just gone through the men's calendar and said these are the ones we're really looking forward
These
to.
are golf's. So this is entitled. They put a thing up on Twitter. It's entitled "Golf's Biggest Events." So there's the Players, the Masters, the PGA, the US Open, the Tokyo Olympics,
The Olympics,
the FedEx Cup playoff, and the Ryder Cup.
I mean, the fact that the FedEx is in there, it's just absolutely outrageous, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit.
And the thing is,
That's
it's,
a room full of men saying, like, right, what's really good this year? These ones are really good.
well, they've just put a date for the playoffs because it basically carries over about 3 weeks, doesn't it, the playoffs? And yeah, I mean, it's just yet another kind of PR disaster. I feel like we're maybe just absolutely lambasting people on the pod today, but it just feels like we're still at the start of the year and we're,
New year, new me.
new year, we've got PR people out just slinging guns, just knocking down doors. Just throwing away the handbook for anything, that needs guidelines. And, should we be looking at some of the great women's events that we've got coming up? The majors, Solheim Cup year, so much going on in golf. And yet we've got kind of an arbitrary August the 9th or whatever in there for the FedEx playoffs.
Yeah.
So.
Again, it's just one of those things, I think, where they just have an engaged brain. I think that's what this all boiled down to. I think 2020 was the year of the pandemic. And it really seems like 2021 is becoming the year of the brain fade.
I think
We're
so.
only 10 days in.
Maybe people's heads have just turned to mush. I don't know.
The lack of fresh air just got to
I
everybody.
think so. I think it must do. I think it just maybe, I don't know, does seem an inordinate level of cock-ups, for want of a better term. Anyway, drifting off the negativity maybe for a touch. Any big scoops, any major news at all this week? Any nuggets?
No real nuggets, really. But one of the things that I noticed watching the Century Tournament of Champions this week was the chat about Colin Morikawa. Did you pick up on this?
Oh, yeah. I like this. I
It's
like
really-
this a lot. So this was the stuff with... this because we were talking about it over the weekend, the concept of leaving breadcrumbs, which, I mean, maybe that's for people who watch loads of golf, or maybe I've just been living under a rock for years, but I just really like the term. So commentators just sort of said, now's the time to be, leaving breadcrumbs with his game. And I just thought there's a lot of truth in that, I think,
Can you explain that too?
Yeah.
Because I had to have explained, because I'm not clever.
So I think what he means is, whilst Morikawa is kind of in the ascendancy and, things are looking up and, he's by no means reached his pinnacle, things are going so well for the guy. Like, why wouldn't you start to document things? So what I think he means by that is, get loads of footage of him swinging the club now, really invest time in sort of journaling around how he feels on the golf course, his kind of mental approach to the game, how he feels, on the lead up to tournaments, how he feels after a tournament. And I thought, and he kind of tied it back and said, well, essentially just leaving breadcrumbs. So you never know what might happen. I mean, take Jordan Spieth, for example. And that's an interesting one in itself this week, actually. But if you take Jordan Spieth, who's kind of reached a level where, he could do no wrong. He had the Midas touch, didn't he, for a few years. And then very quickly things can change. The idea of leaving those breadcrumbs is that you could kind of find your way back. And I can imagine having something where maybe if you're Jordan Spieth, I can't quite relate to being one of the best golfers in the world, naturally, as you would expect. But it can't hurt to be able to pick up a book or, a notebook that you were completing 5 years ago when you were winning 2 majors in a year and all that sort of stuff to help get you back to that point. Do you not
But
think?
do you think the idea these breadcrumbs are more mental than physical.
I think they're both.
I mean, they've got so much access to their swing. Like they could watch their swing from every swing probably from the entirety of their career. I would have thought. If they
Exactly. So I mean, I don't think Colin Morikawa has just abandoned the use of video aids in his training routine at the moment because he's hitting it well. But I think that does extend to the amateur golfer. You know, I know for myself, I'll get my swing generally on video when something's going wrong and when I'm trying to iron a kink out or something. So if there's a problem with my game, invariably that'll then result in me hitting balls. I'll video it and I'll try and analyse the problem. I've never gone the other way around where I've thought I'm hitting it really good. Let's get loads of this on camera. Because that would be bloody helpful. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, physically and emotionally. Like, I've had so many times where I've been, in a round of golf, and for me, played really good golf, and I thought, right, I've got it. I've absolutely nailed it. These are my two swing thoughts, and it's just I'm in the slot, and then I've come back to it the next round of golf and gone, oh my God, what was I thinking? I can't remember what I was thinking.
It all
just
goes.
to write that down would have been useful, just to concentrate on the same thing every time.
And have something to look back at. And I just thought it was quite a sort of sharp point that he made. And I thought, there's a lot of truth in that. Not so much for these guys, because these guys have got a lot of the bases covered out on tour. They are great golfers. They've got a lot of people around them. People like Morikawa will have a team of people that are kind of covering every base for him and helping encourage him and moving him in the right direction. But as a humble amateur, the concept of leaving breadcrumbs, to use that term, when you're playing well, is something I've never spoken to anyone who's said, I'm actually hitting it quite well at the moment, so I'm going to go and get some swings recorded, or I've made some massive inroads, I'm going to write some of this stuff down.
Here's a question for you. If you're on a particularly good run of form, say you're hitting it well in practice and you've had a couple of good medals or whatever, do you go hit balls?
Well, I don't know. I either enjoy hitting balls for a period or I don't, so I just do it based on when I enjoy it. I'm not sure.
I think I only ever hit golf balls if I'm playing poorly.
Yeah, and maybe I'm more likely to go and hit, beat a bucket of balls down on the practice area if I'm playing bad. Yes,
I think that would be true for 95% of Cat 2 or higher. So anyone above the handicap of 6.
I don't think anyone wants to go. I mean, I don't know.
There's got to be people out there that, I'm sure the Cat 1 golfers that understand it more than, maybe the Cat 2, 3, 4 golfers, the ones that are 6 or below, understand that, even when they're hitting it well, they've got to go hit balls and they've got to go practice chipping and they've got to go practice the putting. But for me, it's always a knee-jerk reaction thing. Like if I'm doing something badly, I've got to try and fix it. I
think it's probably the other way around. I don't think category 1 golfers are category 1 golfers because they have that discipline in the way they approach practice. I just think they're naturally hitting more golf balls and probably playing more golf, and therefore they are slightly lower handicaps. I don't think, there's a lot of low handicap golfers that don't have a particularly good golfing brain in terms of how they approach their swing. They just played a lot of golf and can get the ball in the hole in a low number.
So are you going to go and film when you're on next in a Rich Vayner form? Are you going to start to record?
Well, I can't look at anything. Like I don't know. Maybe there's something to identify too here. If you were hitting the ball great in October and you're in England and the next time you pick up a club might be March, that's a world away.
It doesn't
might be quite nice to look back on something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or think about some of the things. Maybe it's some swing thoughts. Maybe you're a yippy chipper and you just go through that couple of week spell where all of a sudden things feel fixed and you've got a little swing feel on the go, but that quickly goes, unless you maybe document it. I mean, I could kind of wax on about this longer, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that was a great shout, but how many amateurs apply it to their game? And I just thought maybe that's something I could.
Well, it'd be interesting if any of our listeners get in touch to say whether how they approach filming their own golf swing and whether they do it if they're playing well or playing badly. But you've got a particular bugbear as well while we're on the topic of amateurs and things like that, which is expectations, isn't it? is the one that the
Oh
golfers'
yeah, I mean,
expectations
I love.
of
I mean,
themselves.
just while we're on this, my favourite little soundbite. Most reasonable amateur golfers will all generally agree that they need to sort of swing, focus on the inputs rather than the outputs. And I think you've come from a rugby background, haven't you? And you've always focused on inputs historically when you train.
Try to.
Yeah, you just like, I'm going to drill, I'm going to train, I'm going to focus on the inputs, and then when it's game time, we just focus on those inputs. You don't worry about the stuff you can't control. So people go out, they try and swing well, and then they get themselves into a position in a round, and then they stand on the 15th tee, and then they sort of just beat their chest and sort of breathe out and go, right, come on, 4 fours and a half to finish. And you just think the way the amateur golfer just kind of flips from being completely input focused, in a good space.
Hit the fairway, hit the green.
And they're so brittle. Like I am the same as any other player, completely brittle between the ears when it comes to these things. So anyhow, we talked about Spieth, and obviously a bit of discussion there. Morikawa leaving Breadcrumbs, Spieth. Just very neat segue to close the pod. Bit of news that he's now got Butch Harmon.
Yeah, I mean that's insane, isn't it?
I think that's been taken slightly out of context. From what having done a little bit more reading, I think it was a little clickbaity, a little sensationalist. I think what he's really done is like when you and me are down the practice range and Bruce walks by and asks for just a quick second opinion. I think that was it.
Is that it? Is it?
I don't know. That's the gist I got from the further reading I did on it, which wasn't extensive.
There is a lot. Jordan Spieth generates a lot of interest, and there was a time, you remember, where there was all that, he was giving Grella the stare down at Pebble Beach, where he gave him the wrong club, or and I think people like to generate stories around Jordan Spieth. I think that'd be a good match, if that did happen. I think Butch is pretty straight talking, and I think that if he got involved with Butch, that'd be a fairly good match. But if it's
he's well respected,
if it's the same as Rahm
it's...
and Olatharbel on at the Masters, where they're just giving each other advice, he's not going to be credited as his coach.
Yeah. But no, I'd be interested to see. I mean, I don't know. Just Spieth in himself is just a very interesting subject, isn't he? Because
what do you want to see at Jordan Spieth this year?
I'd love to see him come firing
like to
back.
see him,
I would absolutely. I'd love to see him come back and, at the very least, contend for a major. The way we're going at the moment, I'm not sure he qualifies for all the majors, does he? I'd have to double check. There'll be some.
I don't think he's in the top 50 in the world.
No, definitely not.
I mean, you've got to remember, he's only one leg away from the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
He only hasn't won the PGA. That's the only one he hasn't got.
I'd love to see him come back and contend. I actually thought, and there was a bit written about it in November, that he was going to come back and make a bit of a charge actually against the odds, and I didn't quite materialise, did it? But who knows? There's a bit of a spell off, and I mean, Spieth didn't qualify for the Tournament of Champions, did he? So, maybe he's used that week and invested it in his own game again. Maybe he's looking at breadcrumbs.
But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, you can look at life like rolling the dice, and if you roll a 6, you win the tournament. If you roll a 1, you miss the cut. And I just don't believe anybody is capable of rolling the amount of 6s that he would have needed to roll to win everything he's won. Like, it's not luck. The guy's got talent. The guy's got skill. Like, it is in there. He just needs to.
I think what Gio put on the.
Get it back.
Yeah, I think what Gio spoke about when we had him on, that's one of the best points we've actually had on the podcast, was him saying that, he benefited so much from the adulation and the praise and, the harem around him when he played great golf and won those tournaments, that then the first sign of weakness generated those same people to all of a sudden become non-believers. And because he'd put so much stock in them in his ascendancy, he naturally had so much stock in them when they were saying the opposite. And then maybe it's self-perpetuating. The truth is we don't know. Be very interested to find out. But it would be good to see him make a bit of a charge.
But we're going to wrap up this pod with looking towards next week's tournament, which we've got the Sony Open in Hawaii. With Cam Smith defending.
Yeah, it's another red eye, isn't it?
At the end of last year, Cam Smith, didn't he? So,
proper Aussie hillbilly, isn't he?
He's just, I really like him.
Yeah, he's
Just
cool.
got the flat cap. He's not the flat cap, what do they call it? That wide cap thing where it's...
Oh, yeah.
That's
Pass.
cool. Jason Derulo, I like it.
Mate, he's a cool dude, but he's a bit of an Aussie hillbilly. It's another red eye, though, isn't it? It's another few late nights watching that. But then, when there's very little else to do, why the bloody hell not?
Yeah.
And we've
Nothing else to do.
got Gollum film coming out next Monday, and
big news as well that is we are going to be very shortly introducing the Cookie Jar newsletter.
yeah. So if you just drop onto the website, you should get triggered to. Drop us your email. Hit us up with that, and then you will be
What
first.
should our listeners be expecting? in the
Well, I
newsletter?
think the newsletter is going to follow very much what the Cookie Jar is about, which is, everything from the professional and amateur game, course architecture and golf history. And we're going to try and straddle those three tightropes well. And we're going to try and leverage some of the people that we talk to, our listeners, our fans, and the network. And, I think we all get enough of our own opinions on this podcast week in, week out, that maybe it would be nice to try and bring on a few guest contributors. Hell, it'll probably save us some time writing articles as well. So that seems like the most scalable model. But no, jokes aside, we're going to try and incorporate some cool stuff in the newsletter. And yeah.
Let's not forget the UK and Ireland rank of ranks, which you spend a lot of time compiling.
Yeah, that went
Just
down all right,
put-
didn't
that
it?
was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've now got almost photographic memory of every position in every ranking.
Still spent Selena dot wrong.
Yeah, twice. But that was a copying and pasting error. But that's
Shouts out to Sean Arbel for the fix on that one.
Thanks for that. So it's always nice when you've got Golf Club Atlas contributors just dropping you a note for the second time in 3 weeks saying you've spelt Selena dot wrong. But
Again.
But no, apart from that,
But no,
there's lots more to come.
a good little resource for people to filter by designer. I mean, what is really interesting when you look back at that, the rank of ranks, but specifically with the UK and Ireland, is when you filter for, when you put the search term cult in, it's like...
Well, 26 out of 130, which is by
It's a
far
lot,
the
isn't
biggest.
it?
Yeah,
It's just,
100%.
the dude is prolific, but it's a good little resource, and you can see, what's in your area and what's around. And no, I urge you, if you haven't checked it out, to check it out and go find some hidden gems for yourself that are in your area.
100%, and also a good way of understanding the ranks and the way they're compiled, and same for the global one as well. So, good resource there, and go and check it out on the website.
Until then, it's been a short pod today. There's only the two of us, but thank you very much for listening. And if you've got any additions to any of the crap that we talk, please do get in touch on @Cookie Jar Golf. And until then, we will speak to you next time.
Watch
Adios.
this.